Given the importance of livestock production to the soybean farmer, farmers are thinking pretty long and hard here in Iowa about this long term and what the implications could be for their farm.
I'm Dennis Bogaerts. I'm a farmer from Pella, and as a soybean farmer, I'm looking at the end users of soybeans and swine being a very important one. Wondering if African swine fever came to the United States, what would be the impact of soybean usage in Iowa?
So Dave, your response to Dennis's question.
Yeah, there's different strains of African swine fever that exist. Unfortunately, the strain that is being dealt with by the globe today, whether you're in Eastern Europe, Russia, or China, it's a very severe strain. And we're looking at upwards of 80 to 90% of herd losses due to death from this virus in pigs. So there's no doubt it's going to be a very severe reduction in the need for soybeans. In fact, we had Dr. Dermot Hayes up at Iowa State back in 2011, so we're talking about numbers that are now getting to be 8 years old. We had him take a look at what is the impact on our industry as well as other industries if we were to get African swine fever here. What Dermot found in that study is that in the first year of an infection of African swine fever in the United States, it would be an $8 billion loss for the pork industry. It would be a $3 billion loss for the beef industry. And it doesn't infect cattle, remember. This is all about consumer confidence in meats. And then as far as the corn and soybean losses, corn was looking at a $3 billion loss. Soybeans was estimated to be a $1.5 billion loss because pigs that are gone, pigs that are dead, don't eat.
So as president of the Iowa Soybean Association, Lindsay, and again as someone who's growing soybeans, raising pigs, how do you process that kind of information, and what are you doing to stay positive?
Well, I think you just got to run your business the way we always do. Take the precautions needed. Biosecurity became a bigger deal back when PED was going around, and everybody kind of revisited all the biosecurity measures that we're taking and kind of rededicated ourselves to doing a better job. And I think so from that standpoint, we're not doing a lot of things different from a biosecurity standpoint. Unless you're traveling out of the country, then you take some extra precautions. But it makes farmers nervous. I mean, just to think about it, when you mention numbers like Dave just did from Iowa State, it makes you nervous. But what can you do about it other than do a good job on your farm and take all the biosecurity measures that you can take?
And Brian, at the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers, you work very closely with livestock and poultry and fish and cattle farmers, and really encouraging biosecurity. And you know, for those tuning in here today that maybe aren't from a farm, they see those signs at the end of the drive near livestock facilities that have a biosecurity measure posted. Why is it so important that they be heeded?
Well, the biggest issue is you don't know where people are coming from, where they've been. So if they drive onto a farm, maybe they've been to a country that has tested positive for African swine fever, they run a pretty good chance of tracking that disease onto that premise. So we would encourage people, if they see the biosecurity signs, please adhere to them, stay off the premise. A lot of times there's a phone number to call the office manager, and you can get in touch with that person that way. But again, it's all about a good biosecurity plan, have it written down, and have all your employees know what that plan is.
And that message is true for our friends in the media as well. You know, sometimes they want to get out to a farm, capture some video. They may be a little, lazy in terms of looking at those postings and those signage. We've heard about that. So great information for people, especially now, but especially now to be heeding those biosecurity rules. Dave, what are we doing here in this country to safeguard against, heaven forbid, African swine fever breaking here in this country?
Yeah, we're working very hard to prevent that virus from getting here, and we've spoken a little bit about individual farm biosecurity, but every one of us has a role really when you start talking about border biosecurity. This virus moves in meat products. This virus moves in all the excretions from a pig. This virus is very hardy and it survives for a long time. So if you've been out of country, when you come back into country, Make sure you're not bringing farm dirty clothes back into the country, farm dirty shoes or boots back into the country. Honestly declare at customs when you're coming in. Don't be bringing any meat products from anywhere that they've got African swine fever or the other foreign animal diseases for that matter. But honestly declare. And Customs and Border Patrol at our ports will help you to make sure you're not bringing in something that could potentially infect our pigs.
Have they sourced the 1 million pounds of pork that arrived here in the United States?
Yeah, they've sourced it back to China. They know who the exporter was in China. And to this point, it didn't move out of the port in Newark is where it was. It has been destroyed. So it never got into circulation here in the United States. But it's those kinds of things. And even on a smaller scale, with e-commerce today and things that you can order from overseas very easily from your own computer, think about where you're ordering these things, especially when you're starting to order things such as meat products from other countries.
And Lindsay, as a pig farmer, there will be someone that needs to step in and fill the lost production that's taking place in China. So not a bad time maybe to be diversified right now and to be raising some pigs.
Well, I think there's going to be some opportunities for pork producers in the United States. I mean, we've already seen that in the futures markets. The tariff issue creates a little bit of problem for getting meat over there because it makes it kind of expensive. And the other hurdle is that they like fresh pork, so they'd have to more or less buy frozen pork from us to make it work. So they would have to adjust their appetite for pork products a little bit to accommodate frozen pork. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity right now for pork producers, and I think it's always been a good thing to be diversified. So, I've had livestock all of my farming career, and probably wouldn't be farming if it wasn't for livestock.